overcome with emotion. And I actually had to walk out of the room. So it was just too much for me to handle.
So do you blame Dr. Murray for your brother's death?
Yes, I do. He is the one that was administering the drug, as from what I do know.
I believe it may have been murder. Do you still think that?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why are you
I
so
would
sure?
never, ever think differently. Because first of all, Michael told me that they were going to murder him. He was afraid. He was afraid for his life. Who was going to murder him? The people that were involved in his life, the people that were controlling him. This book, Starting Over, is about my life. And it's about Michael's life. It's the parallel between the two of our lives. We share that same life where people come into your life, wiggle their way in, control you, manipulate, control your funds, your finances, everything that you have, and you must do what they tell you to do. And that's what Michael was going through. And he knew that everything that was happening to him was not kosher, it wasn't right, and it disturbed him greatly. And he kept saying it over and over and over again. Yes, Dr. Murray was the fall guy, but it's more to it than just that. He named names. He told me people. He told me to be careful of this one and that one. And in the beginning, I didn't, it's not that I didn't believe him.
Who were the people that he was saying?
People that surrounded themselves around him. People that worked with him. People that were with him the last days.
Any specific names?
Michael wasn't capable of doing these shows that he was supposed to do. Michael only agreed to do 10, and it's because they had him on such a tight rope.
They say betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from those who smile in your face. And now Janet Jackson is pointing her finger straight at Jay-Z, claiming he wasn't just a rival of her late brother, he was part of the reason the King of Pop's world came crashing down. This shocking revelation has fans revisiting the story of Michael Jackson's final years, not as a tragic accident, but as an orchestrated downfall fueled by greed, power, and industry manipulation that stretched to the highest levels of music. Janet's accusations have sent ripples across Hollywood, hinting that Jay-Z, along with his longtime ally Diddy, may have moved behind the scenes to strip Michael of his control and legacy. But if Janet's claims are true, then everything we thought we knew about Michael's death might be a lie. Before we get into the tangled web of betrayal, secrets, and power plays that could expose one of the darkest conspiracies in music history, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you've ever believed about fame, loyalty, and the cost of owning your truth.
Only one person I believe in Hollywood who people conspired to actually take down, and I believe that person was Michael Jackson. Today, Deion Cole told us a story about how he got high with Paul McCartney, and Paul McCartney told him, Paul McCartney and Michael used to be real cool. Paul was telling Michael, like, yo, you gotta get your business together, you gotta get your business right. He told him about the publishing game. Michael ended up getting so big that he bought the Beatles publishing. The Beatles publishing was worth so much that literally Sony gave Michael Jackson half of their publishing company just to own the Beatles catalog. Imagine how powerful a black man is when he owns half of the, or majority of the music industry's publishing. I believe that Michael Jackson had too much power in the music industry, and I believe they had to take him out because of it. Smear his name, you know, eventually get him up out of here. In 2016,
Well, no, the last time I saw Mike was maybe a month before. I was giving my parents a surprise party.
And
So we were all there. We were all there.
The last time you saw Michael was around your birthday.
2 days before my birthday.
According to Janet, this betrayal didn't start overnight, it was years in the making. At the height of his career, Michael Jackson wasn't just a pop star, he was an empire. After buying the Beatles' publishing catalog and securing half ownership of Sony ATV's publishing, Michael had leverage over almost every major artist in the business, from Babyface to Mariah Carey to Beyoncé. He was the rare black artist who didn't just perform in the system, he owned it. But that level of power made him dangerous. According to insiders, major record executives and power players wanted his catalog back by any means necessary, and that's when whispers began that a network was forming to isolate and discredit him. Janet's claim that Jay-Z was part of that network isn't just random speculation, it lines up with years of behind-the-scenes accounts that suggest Michael's rise to independence put him in direct conflict with the very moguls who built their fortunes off the system he was defying. As the story goes, Jay-Z's connection to Michael began innocently enough, a 2001 Summer Jam performance that fans thought was a friendly collaboration. But insiders now say that performance marked the start of Jay-Z weaving himself deeper into Michael's circle. Around that same time, people close to Michael noticed strange new faces, showing up individuals who didn't seem loyal to him.
You always hear the conspiracy theories, like, they'd be like, oh, Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC.
Yeah.
Michael's the only person I believe they really tried to railroad like that because of what he did with the publishing in the music industry.
He talked about it all the time. He talked about it all the time. One thing I will say is that in the studio, he would always talk about how he lived in a certain fear. And I used to always try to reel him in a direction like, yo, you only supposed to fear God. Man shouldn't have you feeling like that. No man should have you living in that space. But he lived in that space a lot because he felt like he had something that was so valuable, which he did. He had something so valuable that people wanted.
He owned like half of Sony ATV's publishing, right?
Yeah, I think what people have confused, I'm glad you said that way, because I think people have confused the narrative. People for so long have said, Michael owned the Beatles catalog.
I heard that.
No, Michael owned Sony ATV.
That's right.
Which is Babyface, Mariah, the Beatles.
Beyonce.
Probably some of my catalog was in there.
They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
Yet suddenly had access to his most private spaces. The deeper you look, the more chilling it gets. Janet claims that this infiltration wasn't coincidence. Allegedly, Jay-Z and Diddy began using their influence to control the narrative around Michael, encouraging rumors that painted him as unstable, while quietly strengthening their positions within Sony's orbit. Remember, Sony was furious that Michael refused to bow down. He called out CEO Tommy Mottola publicly, labeling him a racist and accusing him of exploiting black artists. In response, industry insiders began whispering about Michael being difficult, paranoid, and unreliable. But as Janet says, paranoia only looks crazy until it's proven right. In interviews, producer Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, who worked closely with Michael, admitted that the king of pop lived in constant fear that people were out to destroy him. He wasn't exaggerating. Michael once told Darkchild that he felt like his life was in danger because of what he owned the publishing catalog that controlled the heart of the music business. That catalog wasn't just the Beatles, it was the backbone of Sony ATV itself. Think about that one man.
Where were you when you heard?
I was at home in New York. I was at my house in New York. You know, another day, another morning, and I get a call. Headed to the hospital.
And you headed to the airport?
Not at that very moment. I didn't know the severity of it. No one knew. I can't remember exactly who I wound up calling back to see how things were going, and that's when they told me he had passed.
He had passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving Sony, a free agent, owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know. So.
One black man holding the rights to a massive slice of the global music industry. According to Darkchild, Michael constantly said people would kill his character before they kill him physically, and that's exactly what began to happen. False narratives, planted scandals, and endless accusations started flooding the media. Suddenly, Michael wasn't being seen as the world's greatest entertainer, he was being cast as a monster. And that smear campaign didn't just damage his reputation, it destabilized his finances, forced him into debt, and made him easier to control. Janet's accusation that Jay-Z betrayed Michael takes on new meaning when you connect the dots. Right after Michael's death in June 2009, Jay-Z's Roc Nation announced a major distribution deal with Sony just 5 days later. That timing is too eerie to ignore. Janet reportedly believes Jay-Z was promised something in return for helping dismantle her brother's influence. The betrayal, in her eyes, wasn't just business, it was personal. For decades, Jay-Z has positioned himself as the face of Black excellence and power in the music industry, but Janet suggests that power came at the expense of another Black icon, her brother. Some fans are now revisiting old interviews where Michael spoke cryptically about people trying to take everything I have and using my own people against me. Those comments hit differently now, especially when you consider that both Jay-Z and Diddy rose to unprecedented dominance in the exact years Michael's empire began to crumble. The deeper you go into this timeline, the more twisted it becomes. Janet recalls how, toward the end, Michael became isolated not by choice, but by force. His family wasn't allowed to visit freely, and his security team had been replaced with unfamiliar names. One of them, Fahim Muhammad, had close ties to Diddy and was reportedly the first-person doctor Conrad Murray called when Michael's pulse began to fade, not 911. That chilling decision made no sense unless you realize Fahim wasn't just security. He was allegedly the man people called when industry messes needed cleaning up. He'd only been working with Michael for 10 months before the singer's death, and according to Janet, that wasn't coincidence, it was placement. The Jackson family tried to intervene multiple times, but they were shut out by handlers who insisted Michael was fine. Meanwhile, he was being fed dangerous doses of propofol, manipulated emotionally, and told he needed no one but his team, a team that no longer truly belonged to him. What makes Janet's accusations so powerful is that it's not just her. LaToya Jackson also spoke out, saying Michael had warned her that they were going to kill him. He even named names people inside his own circle, people tied to those who stood to gain the most from his demise. LaToya later revealed that her abusive ex-husband, Jack Gordon, had coerced her into lying about Michael in public, claiming he'd written checks to victims, when in reality, she was being controlled and manipulated. After divorcing him, she exposed his abuse and claimed he'd been used as a pawn by powerful industry figures determined to destroy Michael's credibility. According to Janet, that's when Jay-Z and Diddy moved in even deeper, shaping the narrative in the press while staying clean in public. They were painted as moguls who wanted to uplift Black artists, while the actual legends Prince and Michael were torn down through relentless allegations. In one haunting clip, Michael calls out Sony and Tommy Mottola directly, saying, "They steal, they cheat, especially the Black artists." He wasn't wrong. And yet, right after his passing, those same systems flourished under new leadership led by the very people Janet now accuses. Jay-Z became the global blueprint for Black billionaire success, building partnerships with the same corporations Michael once fought. To some, that's progress. To others, it looks like blood money. The betrayal wasn't just about wealth, it was about legacy. Michael was supposed to pass his catalog down to his children. Instead, that catalog slowly shifted back under Sony's full control after his death. The empire he built became the very asset others profited from. Janet's voice shakes when she talks about how her brother's body was barely cold before the vultures began to circle business deals, distribution rights, and posthumous releases all being negotiated in the same week. He died. And that brings us to the darkest question: was Michael Jackson's death truly an accident, or was Dr. Conrad Murray just the fall guy for something far more sinister? Janet has never fully accepted the official story. She said in interviews that while Murray administered the fatal drug, he was part of a larger machinery controlling her brother's life. LaToya took it further, calling it murder, not overdose. She claimed Michael had warned her repeatedly, saying, "They're going to kill me. I'm afraid for my life." According to her, the people responsible weren't strangers, they were insiders, the ones who controlled his finances, dictated his schedule, and surrounded him in his final days. Michael had only agreed to do 10 shows in London, but suddenly that number jumped to 50, far beyond what his frail body could handle. Someone was pushing him beyond his limits, and he knew it. He told his sisters he couldn't take it anymore. Then, just weeks later, he was gone. Janet's story paints a terrifying picture of manipulation, one where her brother was isolated, medicated, and controlled until he was no longer capable of seeing the danger. She describes visiting him a month before his death, 2 days before her birthday, not realizing it would be the last time she'd ever see him alive. When she got the call that he'd been taken to the hospital, she didn't even understand how serious it was. By the time she found out, it was too late. That helplessness has haunted her ever since, especially as she's watched the same people she believes betrayed Michael thrive in the aftermath. From Roc Nation's expansion to Diddy's empire, every milestone feels like a reminder of what was stolen from her family. The Jacksons believe the truth hasn't been told, that Murray was simply the face of a much larger conspiracy, one that involved corporate greed, media control, and powerful alliances that went all the way to the top. Even Michael's daughter Paris Jackson has hinted at the same. In her teenage years, she revealed that her father had told her stories about people trying to take him away. She's spoken about hoping one day to uncover who really took her daddy. Paris claimed that in his final days, her father was freezing, shivering, and terrified, with his phone lines cut off. That matches Janet's description of total isolation, a man kept away from those who loved him most, surrounded by handlers who reported elsewhere. Every thread points back to the same question: who stood to gain the most from Michael Jackson's death? The answer, Janet implies, lies in the massive power shift that followed. The catalog changed hands, the corporations expanded, and new moguls Jay-Z and Diddy became the industry's untouchable kings. It's a pattern too sharp to ignore, and Janet's breaking point came when she realized that her brother's warning, "They're going to kill me," was never paranoia. It was prophecy. When you look at the pieces, the isolation, the publishing catalog, the timing of Jay-Z's Sony deal, and the sudden silence from insiders, the betrayal Janet describes becomes harder to dismiss. Michael Jackson's death might have been ruled accidental, but to his family, it was calculated. To Janet, it was betrayal on the highest level from those who claimed to admire him while benefiting from his downfall. And as more truths about Diddy's alleged crimes and Hollywood's hidden operations continue to surface, Janet's words feel less like conspiracy and more like confirmation. She's not just defending her brother's memory, she's exposing an entire system built on silencing those who own too much, know too much, or dare to challenge the wrong people. So, was Michael Jackson truly betrayed by Jay-Z and the powerful network surrounding him? Or is this another tragic chapter of fame, paranoia, and coincidence? Either way, Janet's voice has reignited the fire, forcing fans to re-examine every lie they were fed about the King of Pop's final years. Because as she put it best, when the truth finally comes out, the entire industry will burn.